are watching the ANEC Sports Podcast on YouTube. The show starts right now. Hello, and welcome to a special edition of the ANEC Sports Podcast. My name is Sam Frick. I'm the founder and editor at Around the Northeast Corner, covering 30 schools across Northeast Indiana and parts of Elkhart County. That includes the ACAC, the NECC, and the Northeast 8. I'm here with Brett Briscoe of Hometown Media, covering all things Angola, whether it's the Hornets, Trine University, or anything of relative news for Angola, Indiana. Brett, how are things going for you on this Thursday night?
I tell you what, it's hard to believe that, the basketball season's almost over. I watched a baseball game on television this afternoon. So, things are going good.
Yeah, it's moving very quickly here. And so to start off this show, I do want to kind of talk about the Angola Hornets season as a whole. We're talking about a team that comes into this game 13-5 overall, 6-1 in conference play. If they win out the rest of their conference games, which is just 2 conference games left, they will share the conference, presumably with the Westview Warriors, who just have the 1 conference game left on Tuesday against the Fremont Eagles. Brett, it was kind of building for this season because last year I think Angola had potential and showed signs of it at portions of last year, including a trip to the conference tournament championship game. And a lot of the players that are having an impact on this team, they are this season playing a major role for Brian Weber's Hornets.
Yeah, last year they were loaded with sophomores last year, and obviously those kids have grown up. They're juniors. They're more physically ready to play at this level than what they were last year, and they bring a really physical game. When you start talking about Ryan Stuckey and Landon Leach and Tommy Caswell, that group of juniors, and you throw in Kyler Husher, the senior, and then they play 2 freshmen a lot too, and one of those is Niles Knox, and he's their leading scorer and leading rebounder. He's 6'4", about 240, and a really solid player. And then they bring in 6'5" Crew Weber off the bench, also a freshman. They added Tyler Ruppel, another junior, to the mix this year, who was a move-in to the school this year, and they've really started to put it all together. And they're battle tested. They've played 6 overtime games, and they were within 7 seconds. I don't know if a lot of people remember this. They were within 7 seconds of playing a 7th overtime game. They had the ball down 2 against Westview, and then turned it over and had to commit the foul and ended up losing by 4. But it's a really physical team. It's a battle tested team, and it's been really fun to watch them grow over not only last year but this year.
Yes, physical team, hardworking team. The athleticism obviously is there with the Angola Hornets. And we talked about a kid of Niles Knox. Reminds me very much of Joel Knox when he played just about 5 or 6 years ago with the Angola Hornets. Brings that physical game, good wingspan, and very talented young player. And, we talked about the NECC. We don't see a lot of freshmen have the type of season Niles Knox is having. I think the last one I could think of off the top of my head was Connor Segan of Central Noble. So yeah, players like Niles Knox come few and far between.
Yeah, Connor Segan was a really good player. Austin Kreit from West Noble, he came on the scene and was really good. But it's been a while since Angola's had a freshman at the level of Niles Knox. He's just under 15 points a game and about 7.5 rebounds, and he's consistent. I mean, he has been consistent all year. The game wasn't too fast for him. I can't remember exactly how many. It was 20-some points he had in his debut against Wawasee back in November.
28.
And he's been real steady ever since.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that was a great first game, and I believe NEC Sports, he was named Performer of the Week for that performance. So the fans showed up for that vote as well. And then obviously Ryan Stuckey is having a really nice year for the Angola Hornets. I remember when Brandon Appleton was with the Angola Hornets, and he told me that Stuckey is a natural leader and a future captain of this team. And I took his words to heart there, because when you watch him play, he is one of their go-to players in terms of leading the way. And anytime Angola has a big win, Stuckey's right there to contribute in a timely manner.
Yeah, Ryan, he's a physical player. I think he's one of their emotional leaders, and he's one of the upperclassmen now, so he leads in that way too. And he doesn't have the stats that pop off the chart, but he's always in the mix. He's always when something's going on, you can count on number 3 being there, Ryan Stuckey, and he gets the big bucket, he gets the big rebound, whatever they need, and they can always count on him. And Landon Leach is real similar. He's probably not as physical as Stuckey is, but he's hit some big buckets for this team this year.
Yes. In terms of, you talked about the physicality of the team, you talked about a team that's more physically mature, so to speak. But in terms of beyond the stats, what is the best way to describe this year's Angola team?
I would say scrappy. They like to press full court. They like to make the game a little chaotic, or I like to call it controlled chaos. They want to make you have to make decisions because they're going to guard you for 84 feet, and they do that a lot. They like to set up the half court trap, and they really like to make you have to think on the fly. And what a lot of people probably don't realize, I mean, this team is a couple possessions away from being 15-3. Like I said, the Westview game, they were down 2 with 7 seconds to go and had the ball and turned it over. And I think if you ask every player and coach individually and private, they'd probably tell you they'd love to have that 7 seconds back now. And just a couple of weeks ago, they let a double-digit lead in the fourth quarter get away against the Calb. So, they're just a couple possessions away from possibly being 15-3.
Yes. And this is a team that's 6-3 in games decided by single digits. You mentioned the 6 overtime games, which is the most in a single season in or one of the most in IHSAA history. I think you referenced that in a post earlier this season.
Yeah, they are tied with, I think it was Riverton Park also played 6 overtime games. But ironically enough, my alma mater, Connorsville, they played 7 overtime games in 16-17. And they won all 7 of those. So so that was an incredible year for them. I know one was a 4 overtime game against Mount Vernon, and one was a double overtime game in the sectional against Mount Vernon. But, to play 7 overtime games and go 7-0, that's pretty amazing. And Gold was 4-2. And that's why I say, I mean, they are really battle tested, and you can see it late in the game. They don't get frustrated. They keep their cool, and they always think they've got a chance to win.
And that sets up very nicely for the matchup on Saturday when the Angola Hornets host the West Noble Chargers. All time in the series, Angola leads the series 36-23 against the West Noble Chargers. It dates all the way back to West Noble's first year of their existence in 1967. And Brett, you mentioned Austin Kripe with West Noble, all-time leading scorer for the school at West Noble. And then they had another guy in Braden Barf who had a great year last year for West Noble. And I talked to Ethan Marsh on Sunday. He said, look, this is the first time in a while that we've kind of had to rely on more of a team by committee. You got a kid, but Andrew Raplogo, who's a guard for this team. Nolan Kelly's their consistent sharpshooter of the team. Jordan Esch, you probably heard of him from football. West Noble's had a lot of good football players over the years at West Noble. And then you've had Trevor Steele, another football name as well. So they're kind of like Angola in a way. They're scrappy. They're physical. They don't have the size they usually do. But I think one of the things to keep an eye on that matchup against West Noble is going to be what's going to happen in the interior, and the rebounding battle is going to be a very big part of Angola's success against West Noble.
And Angola's really been good at rebounding the basketball this year and limiting teams to one shot. And they're going to have to do that Saturday night if they want to win this basketball game. And I think it may come down to how physical do the officials let them play, because Angola is really hard to play if the officials let them use their hands and let them body you up, because they're going to do that all night long. And if they let them get away with that, if they let the game be a little physical, I think that might play in Angola's favor. I was thinking today, the last time these two teams played in Angola 2 years ago, when Austin Kripe and Braden Bart and Luke Skimmerhorn and that team came in here, they were like 20, or they were like 18-2 or 20-2 or something like that at the time. And they were ranked in the top 10 in Class 3A. And Angola was able to beat them in overtime 77-71. And that's one of the more exciting games we've seen around here in a long time. And we're hoping for more of the same coming up on Saturday night.
Yeah, and West Noble was a team that swept the conference for the first time since 1972. That was a special West Noble team.
That team was really, really good. I mean, they were really good.
Yeah, them and then the 2022 team from Central Noble. Those were two of the more recently great teams that we've seen in the Northeast Corner Conference. You talked about the physicality of the game could play a role here as well. What are some other things you're most looking forward to with this matchup with West Noble and Angola?
I'm looking forward to seeing how well does Angola shoot, because if they can shoot 45 or 50%, they're a really tough team to beat. The games that they have lost, they just haven't shot the ball well, and one of those was at Northridge, and they just got blitzed by the Raiders, which a lot of teams have gotten blitzed by Northridge this year, and not to make excuses or anything like that, but Northridge had that entire week off, and Angola was playing their fourth game in 7 days, and that included a triple overtime road game on a Tuesday night down at Woodland, and where they beat a really good Woodland team. And Angola just didn't have much left in the tank that night. But I'm not sure that would have mattered because of the way Northridge has really beaten up on people this year.
They did the same thing to Lakeland just this week, so I understand entirely what you're saying here. Now, looking ahead to after this game, so next week they have 2 more games left. Angola is at East Noble on Tuesday. East Noble is is one of the hottest teams in the area right now. They've won 10 of their last 13 games. They just lost to New Haven on Friday, who happily won the conference share with Columbia City, and they're starting to get healthy now with Riker Quake, Mason Trish, Landon Swatter coming back midway through the season and portions for East Noble. They're a very dangerous team as well with the East Noble Knights. And then on Friday, if Angola were to win this game, it sets up a very nice showdown with the Lakeland Lakers, Highway 20 rivalry, 60 years of long knowing of these two schools, and it would be a very well-anticipated matchup up in the Hive.
Yeah, if Angola can get there and still just have the one loss in conference play next Friday night when Lakeland comes to town, that would probably be one of the bigger games that that gym's hosted in a long time. Would be for a share of a conference championship, because the NECC doesn't divide it up based on any tiebreakers. I mean, if you have the same record, you share the championship. So I don't know that a lot of people would have given this team a chance to play for a conference championship, but they put themselves in that position going into the final 2 weeks of the season. But they've got to take care of business this weekend, and then that kind of sets up the East Noble game to be a little bit of a, I don't want to say a trap game, but one that would be real easy to overlook if they've got their sights set on Lakeland for next Friday. But just the fact that this team has put themselves in that position, I think it's really cool, and I'm so happy for these kids.
Yeah, and it's also East Noble senior night, so East Noble's to be extra motivated against their old rivals from 40 years ago in the old NEIAC, and they're also sectional rivals this time around. Angola and East Noble are. Yeah, that's very different. You have Angola, you got East Noble, you got Black Hawk Christian in that sectional. Most people don't know that part. DeKalb, Concordia, Garrett, Dwayner. You look at and Leo, and any of these teams in that sectional, Brett, I feel like they have a realistic shot of competing in that sectional. Even though Black Hawk is probably the favorite on paper, I think you're looking at this of being a kind of a bloodbath of a sectional.
Yeah, that sectional. I mean, the draw comes up on Sunday, and that draw is huge for this sectional. I mean, for the teams that can get the bye and get to Friday night and only have to play twice, I think that is huge, because depending on your draw, that could be 3 really tough games you've got to win.
Mm-hmm. One last question for me, Brett. You've been covering Angola since 2017, I believe, and you've seen a lot of good things over the years.
Actually, it was 2012 because I did it on radio for a long time too before Hometown Media.
Okay, thank you for clarifying that. So since 2012, you've covered Angola in some capacity, of shape, or form, whether it's radio or now with Hometown Media. You've seen a lot of things come through with Angola over the years, whether it's the 2016 team that won a sectional for boys basketball, the great volleyball teams, including the one we just had this past year going to the state finals, the 2 football teams from 2017 and 18 that won a sectional championship and a conference championship. The baseball teams from 2018 and 19 were reminiscent as well. Alex Meyer winning a state championship in track and field. Trine University winning some national hardware with men's basketball and softball as well. When you look back at what you've seen so far in these 13 years, what are some of the memories that stand out to you about your time covering Angola?
Well, first of all, it'd have to be the two football teams. That was the first 2 years of Hometown Media, and they went 12-0 both of those seasons before they ran into Bishop Dwenger in the regional round, and I still remember, and we talk about it to this day, that first team that started 12-0. went down to Leo, and Tagliaferri got a pick six, because it looked like that game was headed to be another Leo blowout, and Tags got that pick six and kind of turned it all around. And they won the next week and beat DeKalb, and we start looking at the schedule thinking this team could go undefeated, and they did, and that was a shock. And then they lost a ton. I don't know if you remember, but they lost a ton of talent off that team, and they come back the next year and put themselves in the same spot. That was really special, and I think that was because that was the first 2 years of hometown media. I think back about the baseball team and winning the sectional on a suicide squeeze. That was fun. Volleyball's been a blast over the last 5 or 6 years. And to see them reach that pinnacle and get to the state championship this year was really fun. And then you look back, I covered them on radio. I mean, it crossed over radio and hometown media, but they won that pretty tough sectional three out of 4 years. And all 4 years all 3 times they went to the Marion Regional. They had to play the number 1 team in the state. So that was a really tough draw. But all those are really fun for me.
Mm-hmm. Now, before we let you go, I do have followers that may not recognize you or hometown media. So where would they go to see this broadcast?
Well, our software company's been having some issues with Facebook, but it will for sure be on YouTube. Just search out Hometown Media on YouTube. It's a HM logo. You'll find it really easy. And if we are on Facebook this weekend, I'm not sure if they've got that fixed yet or not. I haven't checked, but it's Hometown Media and the number 1.
All right, cool. So this is Brett Briscoe.
And we'll post the link on Twitter too. So
yes, thank you for reminding that as well. So this is Brett Briscoe of Hometown Media. And good luck to you on a great call for the Angola Hornets as the Hornets take on the West Noble Chargers Saturday night in a big Northeast Corner Conference showdown. Thank you for taking time to talk about the Hornets.
Hey, thanks for having me, Sam. I know a lot of people really appreciate what you do for high school sports in Northeast Indiana, and it's great to have you around.
Yep, thank you so much. Thank you for watching the NECC Sports Podcast. Please like this video and like the page NECC Sports on YouTube. Let people know that the NECC Sports is on YouTube. Also like our Facebook page at Around the Northeast Corner, and follow either Around the Northeast Corner and Sam Frick on Twitter/X. We're also on Instagram as well. Just look for NECC Sports or Around the Northeast Corner and you will find us there. You can also follow the man himself, Sam Frick, the founder and editor at Around the Northeast Corner, for other additional content. This has been an Around the Northeast Corner presentation.